I was really looking forward to Captain America Brave New World because I make no bones about it. I like seeing black superheroes leading MCU films. And since I have no idea when I'm going to get another Black Panther, and since it seems like Blade is perpetually stuck in purgatory or hell, whichever one you prefer, I was looking forward to this. Also, because I've come to really like Anthony Mackie in the role of the Falcon, now Captain America, and also because Captain America, Steve Rogers, was my favorite character in the MCU, and Falcon was his running dude, so I got to follow Falcon, who is now Captain America, just like it was in the books. So, looking forward to this movie. I saw some negative press prior to the movie being released, and I said, I'm not going to worry about that. This is going to be great. The trailer looked great. Got to the film today, saw it, and I'm not going to say it was bad, but it felt like this movie tried to rise to the level of the script and the tone that we got in Captain America Winter Soldier. That movie got a lot of positivity, a lot of good reviews for the fact that the script was just elevated. It starred Robert Redford. It gave it that classic 70s kind of spy thriller Manchurian Candidate kind of feel. It took itself seriously. Even though it was a comic book movie, it just felt like the stakes were really high, and it felt solid. It felt grounded. It felt like it had weight. This movie attempted to do that, but I gotta tell you, unfortunately, the script, the filmmaking, even the music, it caused this movie to fall short of that mark. The biggest thing for me, at least, was that the story was really paper thin. There was nothing here in this story that you haven't seen many, many, many times before. And in this story, there's the element of mind control. I mean, we've seen that done in the MCU before with Bucky. And we get that same thing here. The other thing is that when the movie starts off, it starts off like right in the middle of things, in media res, as they say in film parlance. In the very beginning of the film, we meet Joaquin, don't remember his last name, he's played by Danny Ramirez, and it's established that he is part of a covert military op or military unit. And I'm like, okay, he's just a secondary character. We'll move on. But no, he turns out to be the new Falcon, because in the very next scene, he's got on Sam Wilson's old uniform, his old wing jetpack. And I'm like, whoa, okay, I know I'm older and I don't read the books anymore because they're too expensive, but I mean, it's up to you. You can't be that lazy, filmmakers, and not establish his character. How did they meet? Why did Sam choose him to give him his old Falcon outfit? We get none of that in this movie. We also get right away Giancarlo Esposito playing a character called Sidewinder. I'm assuming that's from the books as well. And listen, I don't read the books anymore, okay? And that's fine. If I don't know what's going on in the books, hey, sometimes that's on me. But still, as filmmakers, they need to kind of give us breadcrumbs so we can kind of understand the relationships that these characters have with each other. I've never heard of Sidewinder. And we get Giancarlo Esposito doing everything he's done in the same way, the same performance as he's done ever since he played Gus Fring in Breaking Bad. I mean, I'm not going to criticize Mr. Esposito, but it's like his range has gone from this to this. And he seems a little long in the tooth to be playing this role. By the way he holds a gun, the way he shoots his gun, being a firearms instructor myself, it was kind of laughable. I was thrown off also by how do I say, I don't want to say bad, but how cheap, and that's not the right word either, but how low budget the film looked. It was kind of grainy, or not grainy, but just it didn't have that crisp look. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it was shot on film, wasn't shot on digital, but it just looked, I don't know, looked a little weird. It didn't look like sharp. It felt like a movie that you would watch, you would put it on your VHS. Even some of the effects looked rather cheap. Not that it took me out of the movie, it's just that I noticed it. So I found myself saying, that looks weird. Oh, okay, let me get back into the story. All right, I can let it go. Wow, that looks odd. Okay, let me get back into the story. It did pull me out every now and then, but I'm not going to hold that against it. What I will hold against it is just the filmmaking and the editing. The fight scenes at the beginning, just badly lit. Anthony Mackie was doing his thing, and he was putting in work, but the fight scenes, particularly at the beginning of this movie, let's say in the first and second act, they don't hold a candle to the fight scenes that we saw in Winter Soldier. The scene where Cap lands on the boat where Batroc is. I mean, those scenes were filmed just amazing. These scenes, they got the job done, but it wasn't exciting. The editing wasn't as exciting. I mean, Sam Wilson's throwing the shield, got the wings out and everything, but the camera didn't service it very well. Now, I don't think this is a spoiler because it was out on the internet before this movie came out, but Tim Blake Nelson reprises his role from the 2008 movie The Incredible Hulk as the leader. And it's another problem that I had with the movie. If you're going to cast a villain, Tim Blake Nelson is not the guy I would go to. He's known for playing kind of nerdy, weird characters. He is not an effective villain at all. The villain in Captain America Civil War, Baron Zemo, he was a far more threatening villain than Tim Blake Nelson is in this film. Zemo was more effective because they gave him a motivation that made sense. The story really built up to that final scene where Iron Man and Cap square off, and Zemo is pulling the strings from behind the scenes. He's very Lex Luthor-ish. This guy, I forget his name, Qstorm or whatever his name in the movie. I don't even care. He's just so ineffectual as a villain, and his motivations are the weakest of all. I'm not going to give anything away, but I wasn't moved at all. So I took a little break there and I looked up the character's name, the leader, and the character is called Samuel Stearns. And that's what they refer to him in the movie, Stearns. How scary is that? I would have preferred them find a way to call him by his code name, the leader, because at least that sounds threatening. But the actor has no presence on screen. He's short. He looks goofy. Looks like he's got just a bunch of spaghetti on top of his head. He didn't work for me at all. He appears, there's one scene where he appears out of nowhere as a threat, and then he just goes away. It's just not a fully developed character whatsoever. There's also a callback to the dreadful movie, The Eternals. I don't think this is a spoiler either. Maybe it is, so you want to jump ahead a few seconds, go right ahead. But they call back the celestial that's in the Indian Ocean, which I thought was interesting. I'm like, okay, what are they going to do with this thing that's in the ocean? Turns out, very little. Now, I'm not going to spoil anything here. I want you to go in fresh with this one. But what they find in the Indian Ocean, if I got the story right, it didn't make sense to me because it was my understanding, please correct me if I'm wrong, that Sony and the MCU kind of merged as of the last Deadpool movie. And if that's the case, then what they find in the Indian Ocean is not something new. It's in the MCU. Now, I could be completely off base with that, so you can make fun of me if you will. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'll leave that alone. I would say that the most thrilling fight scene was between Red Hulk and Captain America. Now, we all know the origin of Red Hulk, so there's no spoiler here. It's Harrison Ford. I don't know why they gave that away. I mean, the comic book heads, they would know that, but that Thunderbolt Ross is Red Hulk. But, you know, other people coming into the film may not have known that, but we know that now. So I'm not spoiling anything. That was an interesting fight, but the problem is that it just seemed like Red Hulk was wedged in there. He really did not have any contribution to the overall story other than just another fight scene that it provides for the film. And there's no cohesion with why the Red Hulk appears. I mean, they give an explanation, but it doesn't really bear any weight to the main story. It's just like something that they felt like that they added on or they weaved into the story kind of convolutedly so that we can get an appearance of the Red Hulk. Having said that, the fight scene was pretty decent. And yeah, I mean, it was believable that Sam Wilson could take on the Hulk because his entire suit, or at least the wings part and the shield, were made of vibranium. So he's able to absorb the punches of the Hulk. The way they resolve that fight scene is very disappointing. It's similar to, you can jump ahead if you don't want to hear this. I'm not telling you what happens, but it's similar to how Captain America resolved the conflict in the Netflix series Captain America and the Winter Soldier. I was like, no way are they doing this again, because the limited series on Netflix, that was one of the biggest things people complained about, as I recall, but they do the same thing here. So that was a letdown too. Having said all that, I loved Anthony Mackie's performance. I thought Harrison Ford was pretty good in this. The scene where he transforms into the Hulk was kind of gripping. It reminded me of when Eric Bana first turns into the Hulk in the Ang Lee film going way back. I don't remember what year that was, but you felt like he was in pain, or I'm not going to give anything away, but there's a close-up shot as he transforms that kind of reminds you of like an American Werewolf in London, if you remember that, or you hear bones cracking and things like that. So that was pretty effective. I did like that. Danny Ramirez as the Falcon was, I mean, serviceable. I didn't really invest in him because he wasn't developed at all. I just had to accept that he's this guy that was given the Falcon suit, the original Falcon suit, and he's got some kick-ass martial arts skills. I don't know how he got them, or I don't know anything about this guy's history. So I don't have anything to judge him on. I mean, he played the part well. The other standout performance, I would say, comes from the iconic Carl Lumbly, who plays Isaiah Bradley. Now, Bradley is a character from a graphic novel from some time ago. He is a black military person, and he and his friends, or his partners in the military, are treated like the Tuskegee syphilis study. The government, prior to making Captain America who Captain America is, they had to come up with that super serum, and they experiment on these black soldiers. And he makes an appearance in the film, and he's got all of the powers of Captain America, but he's a lot older. And Carl just plays him with a lot of gravitas. He almost is like he's in a different film. His storyline is very organic to the script, but I just wish that they would have done more with him. Maybe had him suit up, if you will. I'm not going to give anything away, anything more than that, but he does kind of work as an impetus to what the plot line is that the villain puts in motion to make the story go along. And for those of you who are of my age group, you'll remember Carl Lumbly from the show back in the 90s, Mantis, where he played a superhero. I think he's a cripple, and he creates an exoskeleton that allows him to walk, and he has superpowers. It was an awesome show. Overall, I'd say this movie was decent. I was prepared to give this movie just 2.5 reels. Now, on my scale, which is from 1 being poor to 5 being classic, 2 is fair. So I was going to give it 2.5 reels, but because the ending with the Red Hulk fight, it kind of got me excited. I kind of liked the visuals. The filmmaking was really good. The way they shot that scene was pretty decent. I'm going to bump it up to 3 reels, but it could have been so much more. All right, that's my review. Leave your comments below. Tell me where you think I'm wrong, or correct me where maybe I missed something in the movie. I did have to go to the bathroom a couple times. Maybe I missed something. So leave it below, and I will see you soon. That's the Martini. Take care.